Well, ho-de-do. Welcome to Spooky Spatula. You know, you're probably asking yourself what the hell a Spooky Spatula is. I'm not gonna tell you. Just know, it's got something to do with the channel. For right now, we're gonna be reading creepypastas. Me and, the brain surgeon that you're currently staring at, Carmen. Her name starts with a C, ends with an M, and A-R-M-E in between. I don't want to say her name because it took me 15 minutes just to get her to relax in that spot. I had to tucker her out and give her a little, her little E.T. squeaker. But what the channel is, well, hell, it's just me reading creepypastas. I might stop and poke fun along the way. Maybe I'll jive with the story and read it straight through. Maybe it'll be some idiot 14-year-old writing about gender nonsense, or lucid dreaming, which is something that pops up a lot. Like, that makes them the next great thing. They're the next Pet Cemetery. But we get some winners. I've read a lot of winners, seen a lot of losers, and I figured if I was going to be wasting time and talking to myself like a lunatic, might as well try and entertain some folks. Maybe enjoy it. But if it grows, I think I want to start doing a once-a-week segment where maybe I'll make dishes based around the creepypasta. So let's say the story's got some cool-sounding dish they make during the story. I'll do a little quick half-hour segment, teach you how to cook it. Or if they don't, I'll do a theme dish. That's where it'll get really fun. The creative juices flow, giggity. But we're 2 minutes in and I digress. So let's get right into it. Tonight's story is gonna be what is tonight's story gonna be? It's gonna be a little zinger of a tale named Downpour. Hold on, I gotta adjust the table here. Bear with me. There we go. There we go. I want to put that mic a little closer to me so you guys can actually hear what I'm saying. So, as I was just saying, tonight's story is going to be a little doozy called Downpour. I haven't read it yet, but with that being said, let's find out what it's about. So, the estimated read time is going to be about 32 minutes. I guess, with that being said, let's dive on in here. And by the way, I like the jazz. I think it's relaxing. I think it's soothing. But if you guys have an issue with it, if you're impartial to it, you tell me what you want to hear, and I'll lay it down, baby. I'll lay it down. The rain was torrential. There's an all-encompassing sensation when standing in the midst of such a storm. Your hearing is drowned by the onslaught. The water trails down your face, stifling your nose and blurring your vision. Your fingers clutch in your jacket, gripping damp fabric. Your chin naturally tilts downward to avoid it. All of your senses focused on the ground to the Oh, Jesus Christ. The tempest tapping of the wash. Oh, tempest? What the fuck, you? To the tempest tapping of the wash. All of my senses were focused on the ground. I was heading home. That's what the road told me. I wasn't sure from where I exited, but I was glad of it. My mind was adrift, lost in the rain. The pavement curved and bent like a serpent, dragging me left and right and left again. I shambled along the edge, between the black road and the lush green grass. Soon the path diverted, left and left and left again. Then I knew I was heading home. I'd walked this road many times before, but never blind. But I knew the way, and now, more than ever, I knew my way. I was enlightened because magic was real. I had seen it. Magic, ether, witchcraft, enchantment. Something was real, but I couldn't think about it. I had to get home. I couldn't think in this. My head tilted upwards. There was a color adrift in the sea of gray and green, brown. Well, that's weird. Forget it. There was a color adrift in the sea of gray, green, and brown. Home, I quickened my pace, my feet chambering against the murky puddles in the mud. My sneaker dipping once too far into a hole of reclaimed gravel. The cold in my foot. Oh, yep, that does make sense. The cold in my foot jolted me awake. The water creeping into my sock and leaving an uncomfortable slosh with each step I took. I looked up again, brown and red. I stood against the base of the steps. Pine logs split in half by my own two hands. It filled me with great comfort, my arc against the flood. I climbed hastily, my left hand gripping the wooden rail tight as I saw how pale it had become. My drowned foot nearly slipped as I rushed to be under the awning. The relief was immediate as the downpour lost its intensity. The moment I breached under, the last bits of water dripped from my face, and I wiped my eyes with a slippery sleeve. Then breathed the deep and humid air. I could breathe again. I looked upwards. Red. And that's a perfect time, folks. Did I know this woman? My mind wandered. My window was broken, I noticed, fractured through the middle with a sharp, wet shards clinging against the wooden frame. A tinge of deep crimson clung to one of them, the same color as the sight below me. This woman, did I know her? I couldn't tell. She was split in half. God damn! Her face unrecognizable. Somebody just blew up her gut works. Save for the black, damp hair clung to what remained of her skull. See, I want you to bear with me. It really sucks as I'm reading these weird, 2008 cell phone paragraphs. Let's try that again. She was split in half. Her face was unrecognizable, save for the black, damp hair clung to what remained of her skull. Where the rest of her head would be, void. Some monstrosity had cleaved her into two. Tendrils of muscle and sinew desperately reached from one side of the corpse to the other, as if trying to reconnect, but they never met. Bits of unrecognizable flesh clung to her jacket like morbid ornaments. Her arms lay upturned on either side, her palms facing up. My eyes followed them. Deep red blood splatter littered the roof of my canopy. The force of her demise painting the clinks as I called home. Her waist and lower half were intact, slumped against my cabin, legs placed together in a nightmarishly calm contrast to the rest of her body. For a brief moment, I contemplated checking her pulse. What was I thinking? I opened the door and went inside. What was he thinking? He's thinking he's retarded. Oh, this bitch just splayed open like an angel gangbanged her, but, yeah, let me check her pulse. So magic is real, and so are angels. What else? Oh, great. So, I'm placing money on it right now. This is gonna be some 16-year-old atheist that wrote this with a minor grasp on the English language, and we're about to hear just how evil, big, and scary angels are. They're just evil. You really demons are gonna come in and save the day, huh? Huh, Spooky Spatula listeners? Demons gonna come in and save the day. Jesus Christ. I'm not even that religious. I mean, I'm religious, but come on. How much media do we have to deal with? Angels are soldiers. They're gonna do shit things. Ripping a woman in half like she just got porked by what's his face? Big Ben. No, not the clock. The King Kong. Probably ain't one of them. But I could be wrong. All right, I could be wrong. We'll find out together. Bear with me. It had been 7 months since I gave up on the world. It started as a hobby, a personal vent for the frustrations of miserable, monotonous life. Self-sufficiency, to stand alone among my wooden constructs and know what I have created. What? Know what I have created? Jesus Christ. Maybe not so much of a grasp on the English language. Alright, let's try this again. Relax, Carmen, you're okay. Looks like some angels broke into my home. Alright, let's try this again. It had been 7 months since I gave up on the world. It started as a hobby, a personal vent for the frustrations of a miserable, monotonous life. Self-sufficiency. To stand alone among my wooden constructs and know that I have created something more important than I ever had before. I remember the relief I felt when I submitted a data entry summary to my supervisor. Faint, fleeting plastic. The compromise, the ecstasy of the building. Oh, the comparison. Hold on, folks. We got some brief technical difficulties. We'll be right back. Alright, I think I got this one figured out here. I do apologize, we had a brief lapse over here. Somehow the sound got switched out from the speakers from the soundboard to the speakers. It's rookie stuff, but I'm a rookie. Alright. To stand alone amongst my wooden constructs and know that I have created something more important than I ever had before. I remember the relief I felt when submitting a data entry summary to my supervisor. Faint, fleeting plastic. The comparison to the ecstasy of building something for me with my own 2 hands was night and day. I never felt so human before when sweat furrowed my brow with a hacksaw in my hand and an open box of nails splayed against the soft dirt. Jesus Christ. I was trapped before in an office, surrounded by cold bodies in a cold cement box where I could safely generate profit. My smiles flew across silent lips, my kind words on deaf ears. Here, amongst the smell of crisp pine needles and nectar, I had freed myself from those wretched creatures that had dared to call themselves alive. I was alive. A gentle, warm rain had grazed itself across the horizon. It was morning. 7 a.m. with a bitch splayed out on my floor, split in 2. It's not in there. My window was open. A long white cord slinked through the opening and onto the countertop against the wall of my shelter. I made my way over to it. The rain cast a light, metallic tappet against the portable solar battery I laid flat atop a pine stump through the window. My phone flickered to life as I tapped it. 43%. I wouldn't get to watch much today. I had power banks prepared for this, but the rain had fallen so consistently this past week, my preparation had failed. I couldn't care less. My real anxiety would come when I started to run out of coffee. Well, coffee! And the nightmare of briefly returning to civilization would fill a pit in my stomach once more. 2 missed calls, I noticed. Go the fuck up, you fucking pussy. Wow, look how tough I am. I built a fucking structure, but going into town to buy fucking Maxwell House, that's just, whoo, boy wee, that's a knee slapper. 2 missed calls, I noticed. Jonah had perhaps the squarest face you'd ever seen. He was a blocky man in general. His body was built like a fridge, and his straight shoulders led to large flabby arms that would hug you the moment he realized he could call you a friend. Let's see. Was he some Down syndrome guy? Whatever. His hair was a thin, dark red that showed the similar signs of aging as his wrinkled eyes and the dimples in his fat pig face that would always be smiling. There's no fat pig in there. In his fat face that would always be smiling. He really did look dumb, but he was always thinking, and I liked him. Jonah was one of my only connections to the outside world, and the labor I occasionally performed for him. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to imagine the labor that he's performing for Jonah. Oh, gross. Just giving him fucking reach-arounds all day. And the labor I occasionally performed for him provided the meager amount of money I needed to sustain my lifestyle. So I was happy to talk to him, and I called him as soon as I saw. So, okay, I don't understand here, and maybe it's just my dumbass, but there's a woman with her head split like a V down the middle. And what? He's just going into the kitchen bitching about coffee and calling up big retards to give reach-arounds? There's something ain't exactly right here. Hey, look, I guess maybe his version of meager and my version of meager are different. Jonah's giving him like $2,000 to reach around. I mean, let me be perfectly frank. If I can get $2,000 every couple of days to give a quick jibber around the corner, I'm gonna ignore the dead bitch in my living room. Anyways, back to the story. Jack, his voice was littered with Jack, his voice was littered with a southern drawl, and I could tell he was smiling. Hey, big guy, what's the word? We missed you for Thanksgiving. Sarah wanted to show you her drawings. Oh, I'm sorry, Jonah. I got busy. Got a girlfriend? Ha, I smiled. Maybe next time I'm in town. Well, that's not a girlfriend then. That's just picking up a whore. Whatever. His laugh, a booming one. Ho, 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 ho. And knowing him, I could tell his free hand was clutching his stomach to accentuate it. So what's the word? I asked somewhat impatiently. So what's the word? So much time alone has made me weary using my voice, and Jonah and his family were only a short exception. Chanterelles, Jack? Chanterelles? The mushrooms you brought last year. Claire had her roast ready for him. But Jack was too busy to show, huh? Sorry, man. Huh. He knew how... Oh, sorry. Jonah scoffed dismissively. He knew how hard it was for me to come to anything, even if he liked to pretend. Don't worry about it, he boomed. But the missus here was really looking forward to him and the gangbang this year. And I told her, that if we want old Jack and his chanterelles around, we gotta pay him for it. I heard the stomach slapping this time. So when you get some time, how about you old saunter on down that secret old spotty? Oh, he's giving him reach-arounds. That's it. Him and his secret spots. Saunter on down to that old secret spot of yours and fetch us a basket. Got a 20 with your name on it. Just 20. 30? Now that's just fine, Jonah. Oh, now that's just fine, Jonah. I mimicked his drawl. The cabin was tiny, much smaller than my Burbank studio, but 10 times as spacious. The fuck does that mean? You know, a Burbank studio is smaller or bigger than a cabin. So is he living in like half a garden? You know what? This is the thing that aggravates me about these creepypastas. Just, I swear sometimes they just write shit that they think sounds clever, not realizing they sound like fracking idiots. Bunch of jack-officers. Anyways. But 10 times as spacious. The walls were hardly walls. Not because they were shoddy construction, but because the outside was shared with no one else. God, I hate this person. The dirt, the pines, the pollen, the cabin was my apartment. And what a beauty the cabin was. Several feet of walking space, a cast iron stove, sanded counters, and a lowered room I had rigged with a camp shower that I fed to a rain catcher on the roof. Seems like a lot of nonsense plumbing for that. Wait, I might have read that wrong. Hold on. And a lowered room I had rigged with a camp shower that fed to a rain catcher on the roof. So, this, please, in the comments, tell me if I'm wrong, but the way this is written would lead me to believe that the shower drain feeds to the rain catcher. I understand what he's saying. He's trying to say the rain catcher feeds the shower, but something... Tell me if I'm retarded in the chat, please. I very well could be. Don't hold it against me, but I think this is just written like an idiot wrote it. Or somebody that has absolutely no idea about plumbing. The same split logs I had used for my stairs made up a small bed frame accompanied with a mattress. Claire so generously demanded I take when I informed them I was sleeping in my jacket on top of wood. The dark red sheets I clung to every night matched well. I prided myself over my handiwork as I opened the small undercroft from a latch in the corner of the floor, pulling out a fresh jacket from one of my bags and making my way to the door. I pulled it shut as I stepped outside. Even after 7 months away, my hand still reached instinctively into my pocket to look for my keys for the door, but there were none. Home invaders were a rarity. I zipped my jacket up as I glanced towards the tree line. The rain was getting heavier, not that it bothered me. The air was sharp and biting as I approached the edge, prickling the skin of my exposed wrists above my gloves. A wind was through the pines, mournful yet confronting gusts, breathing renewal against my cheeks. The trees were straight as I neared it. Yeah, well, it's something you wouldn't know anything about. But in my peripherals seemed to curve and bend to stay in my sight. I placed my hand against the black bark as I entered, the rough surface thick with moisture that slipped my palm and made me nearly trip as I stepped over a winding root. Slivery ribbons of gray light pierced through the canopy as I followed, a game trail deep into the woods. The rays peeked through the leaves, landing upon mossy rocks and lighting them up like faintly glowing emeralds, while soft strands of water pattered against them. Wet leaves squelched under my boots as I hopped and ducked over branches, boulders, and boughs. Gnarled roots twisted into the trail as I got deeper, reclaiming the dirt that had so been trodden upon. After 20 minutes or so, I heard the familiar noise I was waiting for. A throaty hum reverberated through the pines. I deviated from my path to chase it. The dead brown leaves and dirt began to turn into a more lush green as I neared my prize. The mist was... God damn, it's already 10. Where are we? Began to turn into a more lush green as I neared my prize. The mist was hanging low, curling around the ancient pines like ghostly hands. As I made my way through them, ducking over one more dripping branch, I reached it. Wait, no, you guys deserve better. Ducking over one more dripping branch, I reached it. What? The mist was hanging low, curling around the ancient pines like ghostly hands as I made my way through them. Ducking over one more dripping branch, I reached it. My stream. Okay, there we go. I just read it like an asshole. Don't worry, folks, I'll get better. You're here for the commentary in my smooth, sexy voice. You're not here for my reading abilities. My stream, perhaps hundreds of years ago, some native or settler had called it theirs, but not anymore. I took comfort knowing I was the only living man to know her, and she rewarded me in kind. Ooh, he's banging the stream. There they were, laying against the mossy streamside, tiny bolts of yellow flame reaching for the sky. My prize. They stood out so vividly against the pale surroundings, it was a wonder the hares haven't eaten them all. The guilt of removing their beauty from this world filled my stomach as I kneeled down along the stream, but the thought of fresh coffee compelled me. I took my gloves off, placing it in my jacket as I dipped my left hand into the stream. Ice cold. I cut my hand and drew it upwards. Droplets of water splashed back into the stream as I put my lips to her and drank it down. It was abnormally refreshing. I wiped my hand along the sweater underneath my jacket and put my glove back on. The chanterelles were ripe, and I stood back up to near one before kneeling down again and gripping it between my gloved hands. The moisture permeated them, and the squishiness made me toughen my grip as I went to wrench it out, giggity. Snap! A twig broke 50 feet away. My ears told me, and a big one, the forest felt deathly quiet. My breathing went sharp, and I went still, even as the stream itself seemed to deafen from the sudden noise. No birds, no frogs, no water. Quiet. I glanced at the trees. Snap! 30 feet. Shadows lurched through the black pines. A droplet of water hit my face and clouded my eye, and for a moment the entire forest appeared as a crowd of thin black figures stretching to the clouds. I wiped my face and stayed silent, like a deer looking for a hunter in the brush. Just trees. I don't know how long I stood there in the silence, but when I moved again, the sound of the world resumed. I plucked the mushroom out, remorselessly, barely moving off my knees as I went to the next and the next until my bag had enough that Jonah wouldn't look at me funny. Still, I noticed I was shivering, unusual for this weather, but I brushed it off as a cold snap. Yes, definitely much colder. The air seemed to turn frosty as I stood up all the way, straightening my back with a stretch. The fog on my breast suddenly seemed more pronounced as I wore my gloves with it. But the breeze from the upstream brought something else. Honey, berries, and something rotting. I tilted my head and looked up to the river. Just pines. Bringing my bag to my front, I opened it and inspected the chanterelles. They smelled tart, earthy, maybe sweet, but certainly not rotten. Something was off, though the firelight of the mushrooms I had observed when plucking them from the stream never really seemed to dissipate. It was as if they were glowing from some luminescence under the darkness of my bag. I gazed closer. It wasn't that simple. They were pulsing like heartbeats. My head drifted closer into the bag, until my entire vision were the mushrooms glowing, beating in it so faintly and subtly. I wanted to draw even closer to understand whether what I was seeing was real or just my imagination. Ba-dum! 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 The chanterelles pulsated. Snap! A sound came across the stream. I dared not look behind me. I wasn't a superstitious man, and living alone in the woods taught me that the things that would bump in the night were usually just rabbits and possums. But something felt so different. My pack seemed to beat quicker against my chest. As I withdrew my head, I had to leave. I didn't know why, but I had to. I started walking, my feet trudging through the wet grass, seemingly not able to find the grip they once had on their way in. I slipped and stumbled against the wet undergrowth as I gripped and pulled through the wet burrows, farther and farther away from my stream. I quickened my pace. The rain was heavier now, sharp, like silver needles blurring my path, picking at my hood. A feeling of dread pierced me. The foliage was dense and unrecognizable as I prayed that the game trail was behind every bush, every pine. Looking back, I don't know why such a sudden fear overtook me from the sound of the snapping twigs, but the ice that gripped at my heart. That moment compelled me to return to my cabin as quickly as possible. Until I cleared the next layer of bush, I had no reason to be afraid. No trail again, but rested on a low-hanging branch, perched like a raven, unlike any I had ever seen. The top of his head was tufted like a black jagged crown atop his head, giving him a regal presence as he stared. But it was now he stared what was most alarming. The creature had whites in his eyes, highlighting the murky brown that made me freeze. His pupils were rectangular. The beast just stood there, staring, head turned, looking at me straight in the eyes. The beating rain was incessant. I refused to blink under his gaze. "What?" I asked to the non-sentient creature. He perched only 5 feet from me, and the tension between me and this thing cut the air like knives. "What?" I shouted at it. Those awful eyes turned to me, right. I looked. Water pooled in the puddles between the dark pines. Dead leaves floated in clusters. I looked back at the thing, and it was still gazing that way. Snap! A twig broke from my left. My eyes instinctively darted to it. A shadow broke among the pines, a standing shadow that blended in with the rest. Darting quickly between those that stood still, it moved soundlessly, leaving only a blur and a mist in the wake. The hair in the back of my neck bristled and froze. Before I knew it, I was running, more like a shambling jog in the thicket. My boots clashed noisily against the puddles, spraying water that leaped all the way up to my knees. As I covered my face with my right forearm, blinking constantly to try to free my vision, branches clawed at my sleeve and the smell of rotting fruit seemed to permeate through the forest. I spat rain. After what seemed like an eternity in my desperate scramble, I tripped. The soft grass at my face certainly didn't feel that way. I laid there quietly listening to the rain as my nose dug into the mud. Finally, I looked up. A brown twisting serpent clung to the floor. The trail, bitter adrenaline shot into my veins as I quickly rose to my feet. Mud littered my jacket, and I saw it on my cheeks and my peripheral. I resumed the run, following the path quickly as the ground was easier to push myself through. It wasn't long before I saw what felt like heaven itself. The trees broke, and the mist that swirled through the pines seemed to dissipate at its edge. I crashed through, and instantly the air was soft and open again. What the hell was I even running from? A bird? The snaps had faded, but my heart was still pounding. I tasted copper in my mouth. Putting my arm to my forehead once more, I searched my surroundings. The cabin was there, but something else was as well. A car parked in my path, nose facing the cabin. Both tires dug in the grass that had been no more than a shot of gravel for walking. I didn't even have a license. I approached cautiously. There, arms crossed, was a woman leaning against my window. Her hair was black. Her eyes hazel, and her lips were pouty. I stared. She stared back at me, just like the goddamn bird. I walked in silence towards the rail, looking up at her until I neared the steps. Finally, she spoke. Hold on here. God damn. So this is what you do now? I looked down. My jacket was caked in mud. Strips of wet grass clung to my hair that stuck to my cheek. My nose was covered. I got lost, I stammered. She scoffed, rolling her eyes, tightening her arms closer to her chest. I felt the disappointment in her. She looked me up and down. What are you even doing here? She asked in a sigh. I sighed too. You want to come in? I climbed the steps in silence. I could feel her watching me. I wanted to tell her to leave, that she didn't belong here, and her cropped jacket was stupid and impractical. But instead, I pulled at the latch and opened the door. She took a peek inside, stood there for a few moments, and then went in. I went in after her. So, is this some blind bitch driving a car? 'Cause there's a dead bitch in this guy's little cabin, his little shack, and nobody's saying anything about it. We just talked about it for a split second, and now, this is what I hate about it. They think they're being clever, when in reality, it's just irritating. Don't do that stupid Hollywood thing. Oh, I seen a dead bitch, and then a few days earlier, this happened. You seem like an ass clown. You know what, actually, you seem like a whole troop of ass clowns, to be perfectly honest. Well, anyways. For every ass clown, there's a story, I guess. The moment I latched the door, the sound of the rain fled and the constant ringing in my ear finally leaving, putting me at peace. I leaned against the logs and breathed deep. I was so glad to be indoors, not being pelted by water. I had completely forgotten the woman sauntering around my kitchen, picking up on one pot in her hand and inspecting the bottom of it, while her other traced along my countertop. She took the few steps to the other wall, bending down and opening the stove door with her long nails. I looked at her dismissively. Finally, she made her way to my bed, sitting on the edge of it, facing me and crossing her legs. I placed my pack on the ground next to the door. She looked up at me with a smile that would almost come off as polite if her eyes moved with it at all. So, this is what you do now. Walking past her towards the slump in the corner of my room, I turned on the camp shower and felt the cold rainwater hit my face once more, and I wiped with both palms, wrenching the mud and grass off my face before forcibly pushing it off my jacket. It clumped together on the dirt floor of the hall. She didn't say anything else, and I was the first to speak as I buried my face into a soft towel I had on the shelf next to me. Do you want coffee? She scoffed again. Annoying. I thought so. Annoying. She looked through the room again before looking at me puzzlingly. Is this about Mom? She asked. I rolled my eyes, grabbing the pot she scrutinized and turning on the camp shower again, filling it near the brim before shoving it onto the stove, kneeling down and retrieving a lighter from the top of it to light the tinder I had already prepared. The fire brought warmth to the room that my sister could never hope to achieve. Alright, so I'm going to assume, hold on before I read any further, I'm going to assume Mom died, sister's a cunt, he got tired of being a spoiled, whiny bookyak, and ran away into the forest to build a pallet shack and give reach-arounds to some aging ginger. So let's find out. Mom didn't even care about us, Mom didn't even care about us, I retorted. So then why do this? She put her palms up and looked around to make a point. I like it here. I stared at the fire. You don't even have air conditioning. You're so stupid. I stood up facing her with the fire on my back as I stood off my jacket, huh? Alright, Mr. Nobel. Stood off my jacket and placed it on the ground next to the flames. Is this why you drove all the way out here? To make fun of me? How do you even find this place? She smiled and turned up her chin at me. Your card was used a few months back at that market down the road. All it took was a few questions before I found that fat guy. Is he your family now? He's a friend. I only give reach-arounds on Thursdays to him, and it's good money. Oh, I know. Believe me, it only took about 2 minutes before he invited me to dinner. I didn't respond, and that must have angered her. She snapped, clapping her hands together. "Stop dodging my questions. What are you doing out there? Playing survivor in the woods? What's wrong with you? First I hear you get the promotion to middle management, and then next I hear you quit, and then your phone is off, and I zoned out. She trailed on with countless questions about my absence. I wrapped my hand around the same towel as she pattered on and retrieved my pot of boiling water from the stove. I dripped it through my primitive filter and threw the ground beans into 2 cups. Then brought it to her as she was still talking. She didn't react, so I placed it on the shelf next to my bed and sat down in a crude chair next to the fire. She stopped talking as I finally responded. It wasn't about Mom. I hated my life. I was late every fucking morning because I couldn't get out of bed. I was miserable. Didn't you ever notice? Every single day, the same fucking thing. How do you live like that? Huh? How do you live? Just tell me. She stared at me for a moment with those annoying hazel eyes and shrugged. So this is the solution? Build a cute little cabin, make a fire, put a shower in it, and what? Hang out with an old guy the rest of your life giving reach arounds? Am I going to find you dead out here one day from AIDS? Probably. She stood up, her fist clenched as her nails dug into her own skin. I saw the anger and feeling of betrayal in her eyes. As I stared blankly, steam rose from her lonely cup. Well, go die then. See if I care. She pointed at her chest. I'm not the one who gave up. That's what you did. You gave up. You had a few bad days and you ran away. Does that remind you of anyone? I knew she was speaking about our father, but I never knew him, and he certainly wasn't anything like me. Even if she had any memories of him, she was only a few years older than me, so I doubted they meant anything. Why should I care if she thinks I'm like him? No, it doesn't remind you of anyone. You're an idiot, Jack. Oh, isn't that funny? He gives reach-arounds. His name's Jack me. She pulled at the latch to my doors. It didn't open. I sighed, putting my palm over hers and pushing the latch sideways so it actually unhinged. She flinched as we touched, and I quickly pulled away once it was free. The door opened to a cool breeze flying inside. It was traded for her as she quickly made her way down the stairs. They looked rigid, more clumsily made than I remember, like a child playing with sticks as she made her way down. A wet black feather clung to the top step. She didn't turn as she walked to her car door, boots splattering in the rain as it dampened her hair. Finally, she looked back, and I couldn't tell if there were tears in her eyes or just rain. Her voice was ragged. I love you, Jack. Please take care of yourself. I love you too, Rosa. The forest and I watched her leave. Several days passed before I'd venture into those woods again. They no longer seemed as homely as they once had. The bright, shiny rays of light that would bounce between the leaves now caked in hues of dark gray that seemed to sharply cut from branch to branch. A harsh wind was blowing out them all at all times of day, and at night it sent an ominous whistle that made me shiver as I relieved myself at the edge. And the rain never stopped. Every day I expected it to part. Every day I was disappointed. For the next few days, the only thing that broke the monotony was the return of that old dog. Jesus, we got dead whores, angry sisters, weird dogs, and goat-eyed fucking ravens. What a world. I saw him first before the storm came, and never expected to see him again. Old, skinny, black and blind. He was droopy ears and a long, dark snout, with white bristles at the tip fitting for his age. One of his eyes was scarred and the other white, with cataracts. The dog walked with a limp, quite efficiently as one would expect someone without. Jesus, what the fuck is this dude's writing? The other white with cataracts. Here, I'll fix it for you, bud. The dog walked with a limp, quite efficiently as one would expect someone who has had an injury for a while would. His ribs gauntly poked from his sides, and I could only wonder how such a poor, decrepit thing managed to survive. The first time, staring through my glass, I only watched him. He roamed across the glass. Jesus, dude, come on, proofread. He roamed across the grass, his nose sniffing at the ground, idly chasing some invisible scent like an ant following a false trail. He walked in circles on and off the gravel until I grew tired of watching the scene and stood up. I opened the melted icebox underneath my counter and retrieved some smoked hair wrapped in plastic. But when I turned to open the door, he was gone. I stepped outside to scan for him, and down the road I saw him padding along, nose to the ground, and sniffing away at the dirt as he limped down the path. That was the last time I had felt the warmth of the sun while calling for him. Woohoo, puppy! But here, in the middle of this never-ending storm, he returned. I was quicker this time. No need for my last hair if he left. The door opened with a loud creak, and there he was, roaming in a circle outside of my cabin, and for a moment I smiled. Normalcy at last. Sorry guys, it's just the scrolling is ridiculous. Hey! Hey! I called as friendly of a tone as I could muster. Oh, come on. There we go. The hound's body was soaked with water, dripping to the floor like udders from a cow. Oh, speaking of udders, the only long fur he had was on his chin, matting his beard that looked as if he had just dunked it into a water bowl. I called again, but he made no attempt at responding. He continued to roam. One more circle, sniffing so close to the gravel I worried he had been handling rocks. So I just watched him. Not like there was anything better to do with my phone dead. Finally, I grew frustrated. Was he deaf? Hey, come on. This time, I patted my leg afterwards. His head immediately turned and he began to nonchalantly began to limp. Dude, come on, don't write a story whatever. Again, I'll fix it for you. And he began to nonchalantly limp towards the steps. Not so much as sparing me a glance as his nose continued to smell the ground. I stepped outside, figuring I would have to carry him up to the steps, but just as idly as he began to walk towards me, he climbed them, barely putting any weight on that left paw that held him as he reached the top. The door was open, but he stopped at the window next to it, sniffing the plank under it with intention. I tilted my head as he did the same, and he turned and limped on inside. Figuring it was not much for conversation, I came through and latched the door shut after him. He quickly found his way to the stove, slinking his skinny torso between the legs of my chair, lying down with his tail and thigh next to the softly burning flames. He made no sign that I expected from the other dogs who found a comfortable spot. Simply closing his eyes and going still, I retrieved one of the few remaining strips of hair I had left from before my last encounter in the woods. He didn't react as I approached him, placing it at his nose. His eyes opened, and I could see the clouds of white up his... Oh. Dude, this guy is ridiculous. Why publish something that, like, you sound retarded? I mean, I know I'm not much better here, but I'm doing a bit. This guy was being serious. This is frustrating. And what am I going to do? There's 8 million creepypastas out there, and all the good ones with proper grammar have already well been written. It's a little tough, you know? Jesus Christ, we're 42 minutes in, and I'm about 3/4 of the way down the page. If this whole stupid thing is about some dead bitch that we never talk about again and a goat-eyed raven, I'm going to pitch my tablet across the wall. Speaking of sighing. Well, yeah, we're pretty close. Don't worry, we only gotta suffer a few more. No. Alright, here we go. Jesus, my thing's about to die. Better make this quick. Alright, closing his eyes and going still. I retrieved one of the few remaining strips of hair I had left from before my last encounter in the woods. He didn't react as I approached him. His eye opened and I could see the clouds of white up close, like a soft fog that obscured anything resembling a pupil. And I found myself overcome with the pity at the thought of such a creature. How horrible it must be to lose your grip on vision and not even know what was happening. He sniffed once at the strip, and I grinned wide, happy to share with my new neighbor his first meal in what I assumed was a long time. Instead, he outstretched his left paw, touching the strip of jerky with callous pads. His nails were dark and blunt, long and crooked, and there was some kind of crimson coming from between his pads. I knelt down and looked closer. Blood, old, but not very, coming from the middle of his paw. I looked at the others. His back legs looked fine, but I could not see his right being folded against his chest. I reached out and he did not react, so I gripped his skinny arm gently and stretched it out. Blood, again. What the hell? A soft splatter of crimson stained the inner sides of his pad and matted the soft fur. I pushed on his paw gently to get a better look, and once again he did not react. There was some wound between them, and I couldn't possibly tell what in the low light. So instead, I got some antibacterial wipes out from my shelf, wiping both paws clean as his eyes closed and he remained motionless. After I was done, I waved the strip of jerky in front of his nose again, which he sniffed, opened his eyes, and closed them once more. He didn't pant, he didn't whine, didn't even breathe loud enough to hear over the crackling of the stove. I spent a long while looking at him as I stripped and got into bed. Motionless he slept while I tossed and turned, assaulted by the breaking of the wood lost in my flames, and the patter of the storm through my window that seemed to grow only louder, the quieter it got. When sleep finally found me, it only made me feel worse. Vines, horns, and eyes, roots coiled around my throat, tasting of iron and spores. That's all I dreamed of. The beast didn't make a noise until the next morning, shuffling, rifling. I opened my eyes groggily. The canvas bag I left at the door. At first I was surprised. Why is it still there? Then I blinked again and adjusted my eyes. There he was, that beast, making the first noises I had ever heard from his lips as he crunched away on the chanterelles. I exhaled, throwing my head back into the pillow and looking up at the clouds through my fogged window. There was a seeping cold flowing flatly through the small lift that had opened it. It made me shiver and sent me up into a sitting position as I watched the dog turn his snout left and right, brushing away the canvas to reach further into the bag. I sighed, happy he was finally eating, but that wouldn't do for me. The woods called for me again, not out of malcontentious longing, but because of the pain in my stomach. What's left of the hairs were gone, and there would very well be several waiting on me for the next... waiting on you. Dude, get fucked. I swear to God, when we get to the end and figure out who wrote this thing, they are getting quite the ribbing. Quite the ribbing. Much like the ribbing the main character, Jack, I believe his name is, gives Jonas for $2,000 behind the tool shed. So let's try this again, boys and girls. What's left of the hairs were gone, and there may very well be several waiting on me in the snares I laced along the trail. Them snares. So the routine was set, the die was cast, and the time to overcome my fears of trees and moss had come. A fresh dip into my bag of lightning bolt red-colored clothing heralded my departure. Fresh check. I have no idea what it is. Alright, guys, I apologize. It's literally a lightning bolt in a circle, the word clothing in red with a bunch of dots underneath it. I have no idea what that means. Wish I did, but I apologize. I don't. So let's not think about it and just move on. Fresh jacket, fresh pants, fresh sweater, spoiled muddy boots. For now, my old pair of sneakers will have to do. I checked my phone, off but charging at 2%. Hopeful the moment I opened the door, that gale hit me once again. I'm sorry. I thought that would be a full, nice and loud whistle. It clearly was not. A gust of wind nearly folded my wrist back as I struck. I knew he was a limp wrist. And then it turned gentle. Calming, ambient, cool wisps brushed against my cheek and blew strands of my hair behind me as I stepped down the stairs. The beast was behind me. He lumbered down them as well, his nose to the ground as he resumed what I figured was his favorite activity. I wonder if it will go back to walking in circles, but for now, I figured the freedom of choice was all I could afford him, so I didn't look back as I left the door open, leaving him to his whims, yet instead he followed. And then again, a lightning bolt, only this time it's blue and white, in a circle, with the words Best Clothing Retailers highlighted in white with a blue background. Strange that there's advertising in this poorly written story. I found my pace shortening as I neared the trees. They looked taller and demanding, rugged. The boughs and branches that would softly curve downward to envelop the floor now looked like twisting arms, suffocating the life from the ground. And the ground was dead, devoid, drowning. The grim wind that greeted me when I opened my door was poured out like a floodgate, and every few minutes seemed to recall and inhale that warm breeze coming from out of its grasp back in. I glanced behind me as I stood at the tree line. 5 feet from me, the beast had stopped, and he was looking. That cloudy eye stared at me. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to briefly stop right here for a few seconds. Now, I haven't read out loud in a while, so I know my pacing might be a little off. That's going to get fixed once I get used to reading out loud to people again. But like anything that sounds retarded is literally the way this asshole wrote the story. He published this without even doing so much as a quick ChatGPT grammatical fix. There's weird sentencing, weird punctuation. It just... How can you have something that's going to take me 32 minutes to read, obviously a lot longer with commentary, but nonetheless, and call it a story and not even be bothered to edit it in the slightest to make sure it makes sense? You just post it and go, well, guess Jack's giving Jonas reach-arounds, and that's good for me. I'm getting tired reading this thing, like a fat dude getting out of a chair. I'm exhausted reading this. Let's get to the end. Alright, it's like when you're 13 and you just crank your hog so many goddamn times to see how many times you can do it in a night. You're just exhausted and you're just trying to finish that last one. Let's get it done here and have more hope for the next one. This was kind of an on-the-fly thing. I just searched creepypastas and then picked one that sounded good. Clearly I failed at that, but this next episode I'll research and actually find a good one and practice my pacing. So bear with me here, alright? Where were we? Nope. And he was looking. That cloudy eye stared me down like a blizzard on the horizon. I froze, trying to stay calm. How did he know how tall I was? To look at me directly in the eye. I couldn't see it, but I could feel it. My tongue caught in my throat as I swallowed. Yeah, you've caught a few other things in your throat, bud. I swallowed a half smile. You're not coming then? Jesus. I didn't write this, I promise. This was real. All jokes aside. The beast turned, putting his head low until his nose touched the grass. He sniffed his way back to the gravel, tracing circles as I disappeared into the pines. Despite the canopy, the storm felt harsher here. Droplets of water seemed to coagulate into deeper prospects that dripped slimily from the tips of bows, hitting the ground with heavy thuds that drowned out the noise of the woods. Every step was wet, soggy, and required my full conscience. Jesus Christ, it's just getting worse. It's like he started writing it, had an idea in mind, like got halfway through the idea, forgot what he was doing, and then said, fuck it, I'm gonna finish it anyways. You know what he did? He pulled a Bill O'Reilly. He literally looked at his computer and said, fuck it, we'll do it live! Let's see, droplets splayed my cheek as I cleared a line of brush, finding my trail at last as I began to follow it down through the mist. The packed dirt in front of me was a thin array of mud, winding as it dropped into a steep incline before flattening out, while armies of pines dangled over the covering sky with a sharp green needle that stabbed and prodded, all vying for dominance of sunlight. Jesus. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but you can hear it. It's getting progressively worse. Like, this is wild. The fact that this dude thought this was a finished project is nuts. Nuts. All vying for the dominance of the sunlight. They fell against my shoulders as I sidestepped my way down, the mud creasing my sneakers and making me wobble with each step. I didn't find my first snare. Two bushy roots loomed low over the trail, making a perfect tunnel for which I laced my string. But it wasn't there. I stepped over it and continued my muddy march. As I walked along, I heard the hum of the stream. You mean the babble of the brook? A fucking hum of the stream. Nothing you know about. It's not nice. It's not nice. You know what? No, it is nice. I'm sitting here reading this sounding like I'm a mental defective. A couple of gay jokes at your expense are fine. The only thing you know about humming is what goes down your throat there, buddy. So calm down and stop saying stupid shit. Alright. It came as a slight whisper, tickling the back of my ears, but as I made my way to the next snare, I found the hum of the wash increasing louder and louder and louder the further I got through the trail, being in a hungry daze so close to my second snare, I gritted my teeth and walked on, following the path that seemed to directly lead to the torrent. As the reverberation of the river increased, I found it difficult to hear any sounds of the forest as the storm surged. But there, as I cleared the next pine, stood my snare, and on it, a gift from the forest. It was a big cock. Spoiler surprise, it was a giant penis. A hair dangled listlessly in the wind from the top of the root, its neck cracked and head drooping pallidly? Its head drooping pallidly. My God. I think AI wrote this. Against the snare, I approached the forest. You know what? I bet you this dude got a thesaurus from somebody and just literally just said, you know what? I'm going to seem brilliant. I'm only using words from this one section of the thesaurus, and they're going to mash into a story. I don't know. That's my guess. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I approached the forest gallows cautiously. Yellow powder crusted the thing's lips, oozing like sap. Its ears scraped the black bark of the roots as I teetered back and forth. The thing's fat bottom nearly... Oh, now it's artificial equisha, huh? It's got a badonk. It's twerking. It's twerking on that snare. Boom, 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 boom. Alright. The thing's fat bottom nearly touched the ground, hanging there, and its white feet turned a sickly gray, having stewed in a murky puddle below the trap. Its eyes were wide open in a haze of gray and brown, no pupil visible. Beggars can't be choosers. I unceremoniously stripped my knife from my belt and cut the creature loose, stuffing it into my canvas bag with little thought other than relief that my luck wasn't all bad. As I rested the bag against my chest, I felt the carcass against my heart, and both seemed to beat in tune. The bag's got a heartbeat? Or the dead rabbit's got a heart? Either way, it makes no sense. But the ringing in my ears is nauseating. I have pressed on to the next snare. The hum of the river made the trail seem to vibrate, playing tricks in my eyes as I began to see it in two renditions. The vibrations made me feel numb, and the icy wind carried it up to my legs as I walked, made of jello, further and further down the path. And you know what? I hate to do this to everybody because I know you're oh so enthralled by this guy and his mastery of the English language and storytelling. My dog looks ridiculous. Stop being a whore. Close your legs. Hey, girlie, close your legs. Girlie, close your legs there. Anyways, I know you want to just... I know you're just dying to hear how this perfectly written narrative plays out, but you're going to have to wait 2 seconds while I go to the bathroom. We'll be right back. Well, look at that. The story was so bad that even Miss Carmen left her couch. She left her position. And I'm not kidding, folks. This story is fucking terrible. All right, let me just spoil it for you, all right? Because I did you a disservice by making all of us sit through this. I should have read it ahead of time, practiced my timing, but this first episode gives a shit. You're here for the commentary. Yeah, for the fucking story. Yeah. What am I a funny little prick to you? Huh? What, a clown? Do I amuse you? But long and the short, he's giving a reach around to old Jordan or Jorgensen or whatever the hell his name is, Mr. Aging Ginger, giving a $2,000 reach around, and I guess the Chanterelles come to life. All of a sudden, he's got magic. Then all of a sudden, his sister's head split in two like a goddamn archangel busted her out wide open. Something about angels and magic. Long and the short of it, he starts flinging fireballs. He starts fucking jacking guys off by the dozen. He starts jacking angels off left, jacking off angels right. Then all of a sudden, the demons come in and they start splitting open his mother. It's a whole big thing. All right, a whole big thing. Actually, that's not at all how it ends. I don't know. The Chanterelles bequeath magic onto him. An angel kills his sister. He kills the angel that killed his sister. Eats another Chanterelle. Gives fucking George Jorgensen over there a reach around for $2,000. And it all ends with him going into town, buy a cup of coffee, and pick up another programming job. Isn't that wonderful, ladies and gentlemen? Wasn't that worth 59 minutes and 33 seconds of your time? Because I gotta be perfectly honest, I don't think it was. So, what we'll do, tomorrow night, I'll come back with another story. I'm still gonna post this because I believe that your good and your bad should be displayed for the whole world to see. Not just the good. That's what I hate about social media. It's all fake. Or even internet entertainment. It's all fake. It's all bullshit. So, you get the good, you get the bad, you get the in-between. Tomorrow I can blow your nipples right off your chest with how great this story is and how good my interpretation of it is. Or you might hate it. You might like it, or you might be, it was good enough to keep listening, but not good enough to rave over. Either way, just remember, my first episode, I picked a dog shit story with a guy that had the creative capabilities of a mentally defective 6-year-old and the grammar of a deaf, dumb, and blind. No, you know what? That's not fair to deaf, dumb, and blind dogs. He had the grammar of Helen Keller on an acid trip. But without further ado, I present to you the end of our little tale. This has been the Spooky Spatula, coming to you live from northern New England, deep in the mountains. Because I've seen the sad, sorry state of the world. Yes, idiots, there's mountains in New England. It's not all sad fishing villages and drunk pirates. Fishermen, sorry. It depends what they're up to. They could be pirates too, I guess. And Christ, with the way... never mind. We're not going to go down that route. So, yeah, there you go. This has been the Spooky Spatula. Reading nonsense tales and giving you his opinion. Tomorrow, who knows what we'll cover. I know for a fact that I'm going to do at least a couple hours of research into what story I want to read and then do a quick practice run through. Probably do something shorter so I don't have to bother you guys for another hour. We'll see. Or... maybe I'll just slap my pecker against the table and see what sticks. Either way, this is the Spooky Spatula and Carmen signing off.